say that it's an absolute privilege for me to be here, to be with in such an amazing crowd and such an amazing presence. Thank you, Timothy, for inviting me. Absolute honor and privilege to be here for sure. So I'm not sure what I should be talking about. As Timothy said, all of us are journalists. That's something that's absolutely true. All of us have got a reach, all of us have got a platform that we can use very responsibly to get the news out there that is absolutely important and is relevant to people around us. We can create awareness, we can create consciousness through the reach that we have through social media. So I'll start off a little bit about my life. Ever since I remember, I've always been a musician. I've always wanted to be into music. I've always been playing musical instruments, and and music was my passion always. And when I was in my 12th, that's when, as all of you know, how many of you are in your 12th right now? Yeah, so as you know, you have to make some very important life decisions, by the end of this year, by the end of this particular academic year. So when I was in my 12th, that's when I had to make a decision about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I had made a very strong decision that I wanted to be a musician for the rest of my life. I wanted music to be my career, my passion, my hobby, my profession, and I wanted to do music till the day I die, and I was really passionate about it. So I went to my father, and I told him this exact same thing. I told him, Dad, I want to be a musician, and I want to make music my profession, my career, my hobby, my everything, and I want to do music till the day I die. And my father looked at me as if I was absolutely crazy. And he said, what do you mean you want to be a musician? That's not even a career. What are you going to do? I mean, then how are you going to make your money? And then after a lot of heartache, a lot of pushing and pulling, a lot of fighting, my father and me reached a compromise that I would finish off. By the way, my father is a third generation doctor. So we reached a compromise that I would finish off a degree in dental surgery. In dental surgery, I would finish off a degree, and then once I finish off my degree, I could do whatever I wanted with the rest of my life. So that's exactly what I did. I finished off a degree in dental surgery, went to college for 5 years, finished that off. As soon as I finished my degree, I got the degree certificate. I gave it to my father, and I told him that I want to be a musician for the rest of my life, and I do not practice even for a single day. So as soon as I finished my degree, I got into music full time. Now what I wanted to explain to you is that I did not blame my father or my parents for the 5 years that I spent studying something that was absolutely of no use to me, because they used fear as a motivating factor. My parents used fear as a motivating factor, that the fear of me failing, the fear of me not doing well, the fear of what do we tell our relatives that my son does, or the fear of whether my son would starve to death, or that how would he stand up in society. So their motivating factor was fear, whereas my motivating factor was passion. Now imagine if I was fearful, and after I finished off my dental degree, I decided that I become a dentist because I'm fearful that I would not be successful at music. Now imagine if that were the situation. Then I would be going to a dental clinic every single day in the morning at 9 o'clock, and I would leave the dental clinic at about 5 o'clock. Throughout the day, I would be treating patients, but all that I would be thinking about is music, and when do I get back home and I can play on the guitar, or maybe even play some video games or whatever. But my mind would not be in my work. Now, would any of you like to come to me as a dentist for a tooth extraction? Or a surgical procedure? Or do some kind of a maxillofacial surgery on you or anything like that? Absolutely not, because my heart is not in it. And there are lots and lots of professionals in India whose heart is not in their work. Exactly like that. So it's very important that, and I appeal to you, that make passion a motivating factor always in your life. Because if you have the basic values of hard work, dedication, sincerity, honesty, then you'll be successful at doing whatever you want to do. If you're disciplined enough, you'll be successful at doing whatever you want to do. So make passion a driving force in your life. Now, along with being a musician, I'm also a conservationist, as Timothy mentioned. I am an animal rights activist. I do a lot of work in conservation all over the world. I also do a lot of work in advocating the ill effects of climate change. Now, quickly, I'll just run you through that. So, after I won the Grammy Award in 2015, our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he invited my wife and me to join him for a meeting in New Delhi. So we went to his office, we met him. What we thought was going to be just a 10-minute meeting became an hour-long philosophical discussion. And he was telling me that, that you're a conservationist, you're an environmentalist, and you're a musician. Why don't you combine these two aspects of your life and make it into one? why are you leading these two different lives? Why don't you just combine it and you make music on the environment? And he also said that he is going to be attending the climate change conference in Paris, which happened in 2015, the COP21 summit. So he said that he's going to be visiting the climate change conference. He said that he's going to be delivering a keynote speech over there. So he also told me that if I make an album which is truly including cultures and traditions all over the world, celebrating the environment, and if I make an album that is truly inclusive, having musicians from all over the world, and I make an album that he likes, he will release it at the COP21 summit in front of all the world leaders and ensure that all the world leaders get a copy of the album. That was motivation enough. I made an album called Shanti Samsara. 500 musicians from over 40 countries worked really hard on the album. Our Prime Minister liked it. He released it at the COP21 summit. And then after that, I got to perform the album at the United Nations General Assembly at the opening this year in July. Now, while I was watching the COP21 summit, how many of you all know what climate change is? Or rather, how many of you all do not know what climate change is? Anybody does not know what climate change is or global warming? Okay, Timothy, I'm just going to take a minute and explain this. Okay, thank you. So basically, long story short, there's a lot of carbon emissions that happen, like in the sense that in the whole world. Again, I'm just going to make it very brief. There are a lot of carbon emissions that happen, whether it's vehicular emissions, whether it's industrial emissions or whatever. So all these emissions basically they're trapped within our own atmosphere, especially the carbon is trapped within our own atmosphere. Because of this, what happens is that our atmosphere becomes warmer. So right now we are at the warmest stage of the earth that we've ever been in history. And then what happens is that because the earth is warmer, there's a whole lot of ice on the North Pole and South Pole. This particular ice melts, glaciers get into the ocean, the sea level rises, and when the sea level rises, a whole lot of coastal regions and even islands go completely underwater. So basically that is what's happening in climate change. The first immediate effects are that entire countries and nations will be going underwater. So at the COP21 summit, there was this one particular country which is really important. It's a country known as Kiribati. Now I'm going to tell you about this because all of you all are journalists, as Timothy said. All of you have got social media. All of you can actually make a difference by spreading awareness on certain issues. So I would really like you to spread awareness on this particular issue and work really hard to make the world understand that climate change is real. Now Kiribati is a country which is in the South Pacific. It's 21 islands. The country's got 21 islands. It's going to be the first ever country in the world to go completely underwater because of climate change. Hardly anybody even knows about the country, let alone its fate. So the entire country, imagine the entire country is going to be completely underwater. In the next 30 years, it's going to be uninhabitable. In the next 80 years, the tallest point in any of the islands is going to go completely underwater, which means that it's going to disappear from the face of the earth, and this is irreversible. This is the effects of climate change. Now Kiribati is a country which lives within nature. They don't have any emissions, they don't have too many vehicles, they don't have industrialization. But the thing is that it's only one atmosphere. If our country like India or countries like America could build domes around their countries and keep their carbon emissions and their industrial emissions within their own country, and that used to be a complete village with an entire population, with a culture, with a dance form, and that has absolutely gone down underwater because of climate change. So there are people who would not want us to spread awareness on climate change. There are people from energy companies and stuff like that who would not want us to know about climate change. So it's important for all of us to learn about Kiribati. So it's spelled as Kiribati. There's nothing that we can do to save this particular country, but at least we can use this as an example as to what we are causing and to showcase people that, that they are on the front line of climate change. But when they fall, the front line is going to keep receding, and it's going to keep receding till it affects people and those countries which thought that they're never going to be affected, and then soon it's going to knock on our doorstep. So anyway, to conclude, I'm going to say that when we talk about the environment, we need to protect it. That's obvious. That's absolutely obvious. We need to protect nature. We need to nurture. We need to protect the environment. And there is a very famous saying in conservation that we only protect what we love. We only protect things that we love. That's the nature of the human race. So it's very important that we fall in love with nature and we make everybody else fall in love with nature. So in doing this, what I did was that I created an instrumental version of the national anthem, our national anthem. And what I did was that for the video, normally whenever you see videos of the national anthem, it has got a lot of celebrities in it and it's got a lot of people of importance. What I decided is that let us showcase the true inhabitants of India. Now, who are the true inhabitants of India? The animals, the wildlife and nature. Because the animals, the wildlife, nature has existed in India far before humans have ever set forth in India. So they are actually the true inhabitants of India, and we are driving them out of their lands. So that is why we made this video, to showcase the true beauty of India, the true inhabitants of India, such that everybody in India can fall in love with nature and then eventually protect it. So let's play video number 3.
Wake up people, let's seize the day. A time to take a stand for the earth. All of us, we're gonna make a way.
Let's join our hand.
Now we're gonna come face with fate. Turn the tide of our history. With you and me, this is victory.
Let's join our hand.
Calling out every nation, calling from every station, calling out all your people.
Reach out, let's join hands and sing this world song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this one song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this world song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this one song.
I believe it takes you and me. I don't believe it is we and them. Everybody has a role to play.
Let's join our hands.
If we pull it together, we set a new course forever. This could be our only chance.
Let's join our hands.
Let's clean up the dirty ocean, reignite a devotion, stop the hope erosion.
Reach out, let's join hands and sing this world song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this one song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this world song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this one song.
Dear, dear,
Reach out, let's join hands and sing this love song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this love song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this love song. Reach out, let's join hands and sing this love song.
Thank you. So it's up to you to make a difference. Make a difference with whatever mediums you have. Spread awareness, spread love for nature, spread love for the environment, and let people know that we have to protect our planet. It's one planet. Be global citizens. You do not need to be Indian citizens, you need to be global citizens. So behave like global citizens. Thank you.